Hi everybody, this is Stef from Samayas and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to handle your social media links like a pro. Say you just made an Instagram post or a YouTube BitChute or Vimeo video, and at the bottom you want to include some links, for instance to your own website, to some affiliate products, to some other items, to your X account, etc. etc. So how do you do that? Well, you just copy the link of your latest YouTube video and you paste it into your post, right? A job well done. Wow, this was a short video. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't I just say how to handle your social media links like a pro and not like an amateur? The easy way, of course, is to include a link to the specific URL. And that will work, of course. However, that doesn't give you any statistics about who's clicking on what. It's always handy to know what links have success and what the user appreciates in your content. Of course, platforms like Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram give you statistics of the views, impressions, etc. But it doesn't really give you any details if the user also clicked on other links you provided. So, as a pro, what would I like to track? I'd like to track the number of clicks per URL, per hour, per day, per week, per month. The location of where the clicks are coming from, like country, provider, region. Whether the client is using more a desktop or a tablet or a mobile phone. If crawlers are also hitting URLs or not. What are the sources from where those clicks are coming from, like YouTube or Instagram, etc. And trying to identify recurring visitors is also a nice feature. I'll be starting a series on this topic. So in the first part of this series, we'll have a look at the tools which are already available online. A quick search using Llama, ChatGPT and Gemini returned me the following sites. I got Bitly, Rebrandly, TinyURL, Short.io, Buffly, Linkly HQ, Cutly, Oli, Is.gd and Tili. By no means is this a complete list of everything which is available. This is just a random sample. Based on the AI searches, here's a quick summary they provided about each site. Bitly is a popular and comprehensive platform with features for link customization, tracking and analytics. It offers branded links and QR code generation. Rebrandly focuses on branded links, allowing you to use custom domains. It offers detailed clicks tracking and integration of various marketing tools. TinyURL is a straightforward and free service for quick shortening URLs without needing an account. It allows for some customization of short links. The generated links never expire. Short.io allows users to connect multiple custom domains. It provides detailed links, statistics and QR code generation. Buffer primarily is social media management tools. Buffer includes a built-in link shortener, Buffly, on all plans, even the free one. It automatically shortens links added to social media and allows for UTM parameter integration. It also integrates with Bitly for custom branded links on paid plans. Linkly offers a free plan with tracking for up to 100 monthly links. It provides features like custom domains, branded URLs, QR code, UTM tagging and integration with Google Sheets for reporting. Cutly is a custom URL shortener that allows users to track, simplify and manage their links. The shortened links do not expire and they offer detailed link statistics. Free and paid plans are available. Oli is a link shortener integrated with the Hootly Suite Management platform. It allows users to shorten links directly with the Hootsuite dashboard and track their performance. It requires a Hootsuite account, free or paid. Is.gd is a free and simple URL shortener that does not require any account. It offers a clean interface for quick link generation. Tili, a URL shortener that focuses on creating very short links, which can be useful for platforms with character limits. So, I decided to do a quick test on each of those platforms, without any assistance of them, just by using free accounts. So now let's dig in. So let's have a look at the first site, Bitly. If you come to its homepage, we have a nice little flash design. You can immediately start to enter a sample login, which he will generate for you. Let's have a test. And the first thing you need to do is to create an account. So let's make an account. I will just use a password generator to have a complex password. And I create the account. So the first thing we see after having created an account is how you can use Bitly. You can have branded short URLs, you have customizable QR codes, you have a landing page, you can have SMS communication, you can use it for digital branding, advanced analytics, and you have an API. So let's continue. Currently I'm using it for personal use, and my private page has been created. And immediately it asks me to choose a plan. We'll have a look later at the plans. We'll just continue. Just close this one. Also, something you can see immediately is that the first thing you need to do is to verify your email address. So let's have a little look at the email we should have received. And we did receive an email where we need to confirm that our email address is valid. So I'll click on that link, and now it validated my email address. We initially created a link, so let's have a look what the link is that it created. So in here, it has created a short link for me. So I clicked on it a couple of times. Let's have a look at the click data. Apparently I can't see that with a free account. So when I go in detail, I can see the URL I created. We can also create a QR code based on that link. Create a QR code. Let's have a look at what other options are available. We have API documentation. And so we have an API probably to retrieve each individual link, probably to create a link. We need to authenticate through OAuth. And there are samples on how to create an account, how to create a shortening, how to retrieve metrics, how to enter username and password, use a webhook, etc. And then we have the real API implementation, which is quite extensive at first view, without having tried it much more. If I look at the options, there's also a bulk upload. So should I migrate from another application or another site, I might potentially upload more than one link in one time, which is also good. But maybe an API approach might be better if you really need to migrate from one platform to another. Now let's have a look at Rebrandly. At least the good thing is here they have a limited time offer, which is probably all year long, where we have a 2-week trial process. Let's have a look at that. Start for free. Again, let's enter the details. Let's use a complex password. Again, they want to verify your email. Somehow the verification email ended up directly in my spam folder, while the Bitly one just went through. Again, we have a simple verification email. And I verified, and I can enter the dashboard. First thing here it asks me is to enter up a custom domain. That's more something for people with their own domain and not necessarily for everybody. I'll skip that for now. We have a dashboard. Let's create a new link. And here we have some more options, either the shortest link possible, or a random link, or something which is SEO friendly. Let's take the SEO friendly one. In here then we have already the name of the initial URL. We can have a camel case one, more or less the same, or the suggested, also the name. Let's take a random and let's create a link. If you compare this to Bitly, it automatically creates a QR code, and every time you probably create a link, you also have a QR code, while in Bitly you have a maximum in the basic account of 2 QR codes. I can see I can have 6 clicks. Do I have access to any more information? I can delete it, I can put some notes on it, it shows the countries it's been on. And again, if I want any more information, I need to pay up. I don't have access to anything else. Now let's have a look at the reports we have. Again, if I want to see something more. Let's have a look at the pricing here. The free account gives more or less the same thing as with Bitly. Here at least we can have an essential plan where we can pay monthly. And the professional, which was a normal account on the Bitly side, is more or less the same thing, $32 versus 33 euros, something like that. Here as well, I have an API. Let's have a look in there. We can create some API keys in your configuration. Let's have a look at Developers Hub. And here as well, again, we have some API documentation clearly stating how to use it. So at first glance, they're more or less the same. A little bit more features here, a little bit less features there, etc. Now let's have a look at TinyURL. I can enter a URL I want to shorten. I can either choose TinyURL or probably add my own domain name. And I choose shorten. And here, contrary to the other two, I receive a TinyURL back and I don't even have to log in. Of course, if you don't log in, you won't be able to trace anything, of course. Now let's create a free account. Let's again use a complex password. It immediately proposes us 3 different options. I have again monthly or annually. At least again, I have a cheap monthly option if I want, a little bit more expensive than if I take my monthly options annually. And I still have a free as well. So let's for now take a free. And again, I need to verify my email address. The TinyURL one also entered my spam filter. And I will just verify the email address. Now let's see my dashboard, my URLs. And again, I can see somebody has clicked on it. Compared to the other 2 sites, the little pop-up on the right, which is the only dashboard, seems much more annoying than the general overview you had on the previous 2. Do have a blog. Let's try link management. Well, here there's a lot of documentation. Let's try that one finally. These are more settings. I can add custom domains if I want. They have an API where I can add API keys and of course my subscription. However, every time I click and I want to see an overview, I only have this little box on the right. Maybe it's different if you have a paying account, which I don't at this time, but at first use, there's a lot less overview than with the other 2. So let's leave it for now, up to the next one. Now let's have a look at short.io. We'll try to do the same thing again. Let's choose the get started. It asks for an email address and a complex password. Again, the first step is to verify email address. At least the short.io verification email went through and did not go to the spam filter. Let's confirm the email, and the email is confirmed. Short.io also have a decent dashboard. Let's try to create a link. I'm not going to add my own domain, I'm not going to buy a domain, so I'll try free domain. Contrary to the other 2, I first need to create a subdomain. So let's do that. Add domain. At first sight, if we look at Short.io compared to Bitly, Rebrandly and TinyURL, the setup seems to be a little bit more different. Because the goal here, from their point of view, is to first create your custom subdomain or to use your own domain. In order to have that working, the first thing they do is that they want to have your phone number. For this demo, I don't feel like sharing my phone number. Without a verified phone number, which probably will be through SMS or through a call, those URLs simply don't work. If I click further, the site is deactivated. Let's still have a look between the free and the upgrade paths and see what's possible there. If you compare to the other ones, we have different paths. Again, we have the free monthly. Then we have the hobby, the pro, and at least they seem cheaper than the other 3 for more or less comparable results. If you look at the notion of themes, apparently they put more in advance that they're enterprise oriented, while probably at the other sites it's probably also possible if you go for the enterprise option. While here from the start you have the possibility to add multiple members and configure if you have a team doing different stuff. They also have the possibility to have integration and APIs, and they also have statistics, which I cannot validate whether or not the fleet plan will have visibility in that. The intake from Short.io looks a little bit different than Bitly, Rebrandly and TinyURL. even though they each offer also the possibility to have multiple domains. Here, your own branding is put more in advance than with the other 3 sites. Again, it's a matter of choice. Now let's have a look at the 5th one in a row, Buffer or Buffly. Let's again enter my email address, get started. Let's create a compact password and let's sign up. And here we have a nice little dashboard. I don't know what a channel is. Again, after having created, I received a confirmation email. However, it's less clearly indicated. It just arrives in your inbox. No spam filter this time. And I'll just confirm. Contrary to the other 4, the concept of Buffer seems to be quite different. It seems to be more like a platform to integrate specifically into each social media. So let's try to link our Twitter account to it. Let's go to Twitter, X. Let's sign in. Now let's authorize Buffer into X. Finish connecting. Let's first put it in 1 time a week. Now let's try to skip this. If you look at this here, this is completely different than the other 4. It certainly has its use, because here, instead of having to tweet yourself at 10 a.m. in the morning, you can just schedule it the day before and it will be posted at the day, the hour you want. For today, for next week, for next month, etc. At least I can see analytics here for free. Let's try it for 14 days. My trial has begun. At least I have access to analytics compared to most of the others which don't give access unless you pay something. So let's try to find the costs somewhere. Let's have a look at our subscription. And we have a monthly or a yearly plan. And even for free, we can schedule certain things to grow our audience, etc. Now let's have a look at Linky. Again, let's try. It's for free. Here, the email address is verified before you need to enter a password. The Linkly email ended up again in the spam folder. The Linkly email ended up again in the spam folder. So let's confirm. It still hasn't asked me for a password, but maybe this is a passwordless site. So let's try to create a first link. Let's save the link. As you can see here, we have a link. We immediately have a QR code as well. Now let's go to the link page. We have at least an overview of how many clicks. Let's click on report. At least we have access to some statistics. And at first view, I can see the country. I can see to what site it's served. I can see which browser connected. I can see the link. I can see the referrer if there's any. I can see whether or not it's a robot, the ISP used, eventually any parameters, and I can export that and all that for free. Here as well, again, we have a notion of users and we can regroup and work as a team. Whether or not you need to pay for that, that's something else. Then we have the possibility to add own domains or not. Compared to the other sites previously seen, this is the first time I see apparently a default link settings where I can include a meta pixel to identify something, where I can add Google Analytics, where I can add extra tracking pixels, where I can try to hide it through an iframe, where I can add UTM Google tags, where I can modify the referrer, where I can pass the original parameters entered. The first site it sees available for everybody, paying or not. At first sight, this is the first time that the model is more based on the number of clicks you will get rather than the number of links. So if suddenly you become very successful, I don't know what happens if you go over your 25,000 monthly clicks, if they will automatically upscale, if they will stop responding. That needs to be seen. But for a heavy load site, this might be much more expensive than the other options, but that needs to be seen. Again, there's a notion of API key, so somewhere there's an API available to query. And of course, we can add custom domains if we want to. Now let's have a look at Cutly. Let's sign up, enter email address, enter password, and I accept the conditions and create an account. I receive the activation email and I'll click on the link. After my account is activated, I still have to re-log in, contrary to the other ones. And then I end up on a nice little dashboard. This is the second site where at the first site I have the option to immediately enable my 2FA authentication. And here I have the choice between either an email address or an authentication app. I can clearly add my own domain if I want to. Let's try to add a link and let's shorten it, and I have my first link. It even already retrieved the title of the URL. So after having tried multiple times, I can see my total clicks. However, on my individual link, I don't see the click. The link works, but I don't see any stats. Now let's have a little look at the upgrade plan. So we have a monthly plan and we have a yearly plan. And the monthly is reasonably priced at $12. If I scroll down, I can still see there's a free option available, which is currently selected. Each URL seems to have a QR code. There's also pixel settings, there's also UTM, there's also mobile redirects, so this seems to be quite advanced as well. Next, we can see there's an API available with API documentation and an API key. The site also seems to be multilingual, and you have theme options where you can create a theme which is put in advance. Now let's try out Hourly, which immediately redirects to Hootsuite. Let's click on Start Free Trial. Let's choose the standard 30 days trial. Let's enter our name. Let's enter a complex password. Now let's create an account. Now we are redirected to a billing page where we see the price, where we immediately are required to either enter a credit card or PayPal in order for the trial to continue. For a trial, I'm not ready to provide that. So for me, this trial stops here. Now let's look at Is.gd or Is.gd. Let's try a URL and I immediately receive a shortened URL. However, this is completely anonymous. I don't have any possibility whatsoever to log in. There seems to be a developer section with a possibility of calling some code to receiving it by code. Other than that, this is completely useless with the requirements we set ourselves to track what we're doing. Now let's have a look at the last one in the series, Tili. Let's sign up. Let's enter a secure password. And let's sign up. Again, the spam filter blocked this. So let's click on the verify email address. And we have a very basic dashboard. Let's try to create a link. Let's shorten it and create a link. It automatically retrieved the icon. And after hitting the link a couple of times, we see we have 2 hits. Let's click on it and we have some basic stats. We have 2 visitors. We have 1 unique visitor. We can see where it's from, an Android device. So we have full stats available. We seem to have a fully functional trial, but it's only 4 days long. When we go to the link settings and click on edit, we have a number of extra settings. We have an options where we can provide extra data. We also have a possibility of adding a custom domain, and we have some API documentation available as well. Working with an API token. Let's have a look at the upgrade path. If we look at this, the basic pricing is very good. However, if you really want to use it, the monthly prices for 5 million requests is $20,000, which seems excessive. So this concludes the quick overview of Tili. So after some brief overview of the 10 sites, here are the following quick conclusions. Let's first look at the features. Bitly, it can generate short links based on an existing URL. QR codes is also an option, but more limited, and there's no one-to-one mapping. There is analytics available, but not accessible in the trial version. Rebrandly, it can generate short links based on an existing URL. Each URL also has a QR code. Analytics is available, but only partial in a trial version. TinyURL, it can generate short links based on existing URLs. Each URL also has a QR code. Analytics are totally unavailable in the trial version. Short.io, all URLs are based on a predefined subdomain. QR codes don't seem to be available. Analytics are available, I wasn't able to test much, since they require a telephone number to test a minimum. Buffly. This seemed to be a totally different concept, where we work with social media and engage with them, and the notion of individual links is totally different. There is analytics available. Linkly HQ. It can generate short links based on existing URLs. QR codes don't seem to be available. Analytics is available. Cutly. It can generate short links based on existing URLs. Each URL has a QR code. Owly or Hootsuite. Since they asked for a credit card in a free evaluation, I didn't continue. Is.gd. It can shorten a URL, and that works, but other than that, there isn't any notion of username and so no statistics. There are also no QR codes. Tiny. It can generate short URLs based on an existing URL. Each URL also has a QR code. Analytics are available. Now let's look at the API availability. Bitly. It has an API with detailed documentation and samples. Rebrandly. It has an API and a detailed documentation and samples. TinyURL. It has an API with limited documentation. Short.io. It has an API and a detailed documentation and samples. Buffer. There doesn't seem to be an API available, but then the goal is to integrate other platforms. Linkly HQ. It has an API and detailed documentation and samples. Cutly. It has an API and limited documentation. Owly. The main site doesn't seem to have any API documentation. Is.gd. It has an API and limited documentation. Tiny. It has an API and limited documentation and samples. Now let's look at how each site handles security. Bitly. Authentication is with username and password, and two-factor authentication is based on SMS. Rebrandly. Authentication is with username and password, and two-factor authentication is with an app. TinyURL. Authentication is with a username and password, and two-factor authentication is with an app. Short.io. Authentication is with username and password, and two-factor authentication is with an app. Buffer. Authentication is with a username and password, and two-factor authentication is with an app or an email. Linkly HQ. Authentication is with a username and an email is sent for confirmation, and there seems to be no two-factor authentication. Cutly. Authentication is with username and password, and two-factor authentication is with an app or an email. Owly. Authentication is with a username and password, and I couldn't validate any two-factor authentication. Is.gd. There is no authentication. Tiny. Authentication is with a username and password, and there's a two-factor authentication with an app. So let's see who of those sites also support custom domains. Bitly supports custom domains. Rebrandly supports custom domains. TinyURL supports custom domains. Short.io is completely based on custom domains. Buffer. There's no requirement for this kind of tool. Linkly HQ supports custom domains. Cutly supports custom domains. Hootly. I couldn't test the settings. Is.gd. does not support custom domains. Tiny supports custom domains. Now we have a look at the more advanced features of each site. Bitly. The dashboard is slick and detailed. The link settings are basic, and there seems to be no multi-user support. Rebrandly. The dashboard is rather basic, but there are more detailed link settings, and there is multi-user support. TinyURL. The trial dashboard interface is barely usable. I don't know if other versions are the same. Links are basic and there's no multi-user support. Short.io. The dashboard is slick and detailed, and the links have a lot of advanced features, but there's no multi-user support. Buffer. The dashboard is slick and detailed, but I couldn't really test the links since it's a totally different setup, and it does have multi-user support. Linkly HQ. The dashboard is slick and detailed, and the links have advanced settings, and there's multi-user support. Cutly. The dashboard is slick and detailed, and the URLs have detailed settings, and there is multi-user support. Owly, Hootsuite, I couldn't test the settings. Is.gd, the dashboard is basic, and so is the links, and there's no support for any user whatsoever. Tili, the dashboard is slick, but rather basic, and there are detailed link settings, but there's no multi-user support. Now finally, let's have a look at the cost. Here, I didn't actually detail the actual cost of each individual formula, since that changes over time, but rather a general trend. Bitly, only the links are usable, and there are no real statistics in a trial version. The monthly basic version is quite expensive to try it out. The yearly version is cheaper, but that requires a lot of commitment to start. As a new user, there you're taking a lot of risk just to try out. The top level version is more payable. Rebrandly, only links are usable and basic stats are working in a trial version. The basic version is reasonably priced, and so is the top version. TinyURL, only links are working in the trial version. Both basic and top level are reasonably priced. Short.io, nothing is working in the trial version without a phone number. Basic version is payable. The top level is a little bit more expensive. Buffer, the trial version is usable, and both the basic and the top level are reasonably priced. Linkly HQ, the trial version is usable. Contrary to other sites, here it's priced per click, and so that might become quite pricey for top level versions. Cutly, the trial version is usable. The basic version and top level version are reasonably priced. Hootsuite, no trial version without a credit card. The basic version is quite high, but the top level isn't much higher. Is.gd, all is free. Tili, the trial version is usable. The basic version is payable, but the top level version is quite expensive. Let's have a look at the payment options. Bitly, they invoice in euros or dollars. You can pay with a credit card and PayPal. They are US based with EU offices. No European VAT seems to be added. Rebrandly, they only invoice in dollar. You can pay with US bank, a credit card or PayPal. They are US based with EU offices. EU VAT is added but can be exempt as a company. TinyURL, they invoice in US dollars. You can pay per credit card. They are US based. No European VAT seems to be added. Short.io, they invoice in US dollars, euro or a number of other currencies. You can pay with US bank or a credit card or a local bank. They are US based. EU VAT is added but can be exempt as a company. Buffer, they invoice in US dollar. You can pay with a credit card or Amazon Pay. They are US based. EU VAT is added but can be exempt as a company. Linkly HQ, they invoice in US dollars. You can pay with a credit card or PayPal. They are UK based. EU VAT is added but can be exempt as a company. Cutly, they invoice in dollars. You can pay with credit card or PayPal. They are based in Poland. Hootsuite, they invoice in euros or US dollars. You can pay with credit card and PayPal. They are Canada based. VAT is added, but company exemption doesn't seem to be an option. Is.gd, all is free. Tili, they invoice in US dollars. They are US based. You can pay with a credit card. VAT doesn't seem to be added. Finally, I tried to find out their infrastructure. Based on DNS lookups I was able to do. I speak about servers, but behind that, there might still be load balancer and server deduplication. Bitly, they have 2 website servers, 2 portal servers, which are the same as the website servers, and 2 servers that respond to Bitly, which is Google hosted. Rebrandly, they have 4 website servers, they have 4 different portal servers, and they have 2 servers that respond to Rebrandly, which is Amazon hosted. TinyURL, they have 2 website servers and 2 portal servers, which are the same, and 2 servers that respond to tinyurl.com, which are also the same, which is Cloudflare hosted. Short.io, they have 4 website servers and 4 portal servers, and have 2 servers that respond to Short.gi, which is Amazon hosted. Buffer, Buffly. They have 2 website servers and 2 portal servers, which are the same. And they have 1 Buffly server, which is Cloudflare hosted. Linkly HQ. They have 1 website server and 1 portal server. And they have 7 servers that respond to tolinky.link, which is Cloudflare hosted. Cuddly. They have 3 website servers and 3 portal servers and 3 servers, which are all the same and which are Cloudflare hosted. Owly. They have 4 website servers and 4 portal servers, which are the same, and I don't know about the links. Is.gd. They have 3 website servers and 3 redirect servers, which are the same and which are Cloudflare hosted. Tili. They have 2 website servers and 2 portal servers, which is the same, and 2 redirect servers, which is also the same, which is Cloudflare hosted. So as a conclusion, which one would I choose? There's no perfect one. It depends on your personal needs. However, it's quite important to make the right choice. Once you made that choice, switching over to another isn't easy. You might have to live with 2 or more platforms if you switch over, because some links might still live on the old platform and some links might live on a new platform. Mobile phone numbers can be easily taken over between providers in most countries. Here, it might be a little bit more harder. It's virtually impossible if you stick with their general URLs. However, if you have taken the custom domain route, it might be easier, but you might still have some issues. Something that really bothered me is that most of them didn't really have a real trial version, where you could see how everything worked and play around with it. In the end, nothing's for free, and I get that. But a real trial for 30 days with full features and limited amount of links should be the minimum to be able to really test it out. If you like this content, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and press the bell sign. Or leave a comment down below.